Hello, welcome to Biblical Wealth Principles. Here we talk about faith, wisdom, and decisions that help you build a more stable financial life, with God at the center. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe the problem isn't bad luck, but small choices you repeat without realizing it? Things that seem harmless, but are silently draining your money, month after month. Today we're going to talk about this clearly and honestly. There's something that needs to be said right at the beginning. Many people spend years struggling financially, working hard, fulfilling responsibilities, doing their best, but they remain in the same place. And when they look at this reality, the first thing they think is, bad luck. Coincidence? Bad luck. As if there were an external force preventing progress. But I'll ask you a direct question. Is it really bad luck? Or are there daily choices, small decisions you make almost on autopilot, that are consuming your money without you realizing it? Decisions that seem normal, that everyone makes, but that at the end of the month, at the end of the year, create a pattern of financial stagnation. The truth is that most of the financial pressure you feel doesn't come from one big mistake. It wasn't a single catastrophic decision that put you where you are. It was the sum of small choices, repeated over time, that were never questioned. And the worst part is that these choices are so subtle, so normalized by the culture, that you may be making them right now, without even realizing it. This creates a frustrating cycle. You look at your bills, see that there's no money left over, feel the anxiety growing, and then try to find an external explanation. It's the economy. It's the cost of living. It's the lack of opportunities. And yes, these factors exist. But the question that needs to be asked is, within what you can control, what are you doing that keeps you stuck? The Bible speaks extensively about practical wisdom. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but haste leads to poverty." Notice that it's not about miracles. It's about diligence. It's about thinking before acting. It's about being aware of your own choices. And when you lack this awareness, when you act automatically, that's when money slips through the cracks. Today I want to help you identify these silent choices, not to condemn you, not to make you feel guilty, but to give you clarity. Because when you see what's happening, you can change. And change always begins with awareness. If you recognize that you might be making financial choices on autopilot, write in the comments, "I'm ready to be more mindful about my money." This isn't some mystical declaration. It's a commitment to yourself, a first step toward responsibility. Go ahead and leave your comment now. What follows will show you exactly what those silent choices are that drain the most money, and how most people don't even realize they're making them. Let's get straight to the point. The first silent choice that drains money is this: buying convenience without measuring the real cost. Let me explain this clearly. You're tired after a long day at work. You get home and don't feel like cooking. So you order food through an app. It seems like a small, one-off decision. But when you do this 3, 4, 5 times a week, the accumulated amount at the end of the month is high. Much higher than you imagine when you click the Confirm Order button. The problem isn't ordering food once in a while. The problem is when it becomes the norm, when convenience becomes the #1 criterion for all your financial decisions. You choose the fastest product, the easiest service, the most immediate solution, without stopping to calculate the cost of that convenience over time. And here's the trap. Small convenience expenses are invisible. Individually, they don't seem threatening. But when you add it all up, the ready-made coffees, the deliveries, the products you buy because you were in a hurry, you discover that a significant portion of your money has gone to things that could have been done differently for a fraction of the price. The Bible calls this a lack of stewardship. Luke chapter 16 verse 10 says, Whoever is faithful in small matters will be faithful in large ones, and whoever is dishonest in small matters will be dishonest in large ones. Stewardship means managing what you have well. It means looking at every resource, even the small ones, responsibly. When you buy convenience without thinking, you're being dishonest with the little you have. And if you can't be faithful with small expenses, how will you be faithful when you have more? This principle is fundamental. The second silent choice is spending to alleviate emotions. This is extremely common and extremely destructive. You've had a difficult day. You're feeling frustrated, anxious, emotionally exhausted. So you buy something to feel better. Clothes, an accessory, a product you saw online. Not because you need it, but because at that moment the purchase brings temporary relief. This pattern is called emotional buying, and it works because, for a few minutes, you really feel better. There's a dopamine rush in the brain when you acquire something new, but this relief is fleeting. It passes quickly, and what remains is the bill, the debt, the feeling that you have no control over your own money. Here's the hard truth. You can't cure anxiety with consumption. You can't resolve emotional frustration by spending money. It might seem to work for a moment, but in the long run, it only increases financial pressure, and with it, anxiety. It's a vicious cycle. Philippians chapter 4 verse 19 says, "And my God will supply all your needs, according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus." Notice, needs, not emotional impulses, not temporary relief. God provides what you need, but he also expects you to have self-control over what you want. The third silent choice is not planning for small expenses. Many people budget for the big bills, rent, electricity, water, loan payments, but they don't pay attention to the small expenses. And it's precisely these small expenses that, added together, create the hole in the budget. A snack here, a cleaning product there, a subscription you forgot to cancel. Individually, none of this seems important. But when you look at your bank statement at the end of the month and see hundreds of dollars spent on little things, you realize you've lost control. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 23 says, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds." This is a principle of attentiveness. You need to know where your money is. You need to know the state of your finances, not obsessively, but responsibly. Now that you understand these first three silent choices, the next step is to see how this works in practice, and what happens when someone finally notices the pattern. Before we continue, let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates what we're talking about. This story isn't about someone who got rich overnight. It's about someone who stopped repeating the same mistake and, as a result, began to rebuild their financial life. Her name was Sarah. She worked as an administrative manager, earned a reasonable salary, was a practicing Christian, prayed, and attended church. But every month, Sarah looked at her bank account and couldn't understand where the money had gone. She didn't spend on luxuries. She didn't have expensive vices. But she also couldn't save anything. Until one day a friend suggested she track every expense for an entire month. Sarah thought it was unnecessary at first but decided to try it. And when the month ended and she looked at the spreadsheet, she was shocked. Over $400 had been spent on small convenience purchases, ready-made coffees before work, lunches out because she was in a hurry, dinner delivery because she was tired. Over $300 went to emotional purchases, things she bought online after difficult days, products she didn't even use, and almost $200 went to small expenses she didn't even remember making, subscriptions, fees, things that went unnoticed. Sarah realized the problem wasn't a lack of money, it was a lack of awareness. She was acting on autopilot, and that autopilot was draining her of almost $1,000 a month. She didn't change everything at once, but he started making different choices. He made coffee at home. He took lunch to work 3 times a week. When he felt like buying something on impulse, he waited 24 hours. He canceled subscriptions he didn't use. In 6 months, Sarah had saved over $5,000. Not because she earned more, but because she stopped losing money through unspoken choices. Perhaps you identify with Sarah. Perhaps you too are repeating patterns without realizing it. The good news is that when you recognize the pattern, you can change it. If you recognize that you've been making purchases out of convenience, emotion, or without planning, write in the comments, "I choose to have more control over my money." That's the first practical step. Go ahead and leave your comment. Now let's talk about more silent choices that drain money. The fourth is believing that small amounts don't matter. This is an extremely dangerous mindset. You see a product costing $3 and think, "It's only $3. It won't make a difference." So you buy it. The next day, another product for $5, then one for $7. Individually, none of these amounts seem significant, but over the course of a month, these small purchases add up to $50, $100, $200. The problem with this mindset is that it prevents you from seeing the real impact of your choices. You underestimate the power of small amounts of money, for both good and bad. If $3 don't matter when you spend them, why would they matter when you save them? But the truth is, they do matter. If you save just $5 a day for a year, you'll have $1,825 at the end. That's significant. That could be an emergency fund. That could be the start of an investment. But you can only achieve this result if you stop disregarding small amounts. Proverbs chapter 13 verse 11 says, "Wealth gained hastily dwindles, but he who gathers little, by little prospers." Notice, little by little. It's not about gaining a lot at once. It's about accumulating consistently. And accumulating begins with small amounts. The fifth silent choice is comparing yourself financially to others. You see someone at work with a new car, a friend posting vacation photos, a family member talking about a house they bought, and then you feel an internal pressure to do the same, to not fall behind, to prove that you can too. This pressure leads you to spend money you don't have on things you don't need, to impress people who don't even care. And the result is debt, anxiety, frustration, because you're not living your own reality. You're trying to live someone else's reality. Galatians chapter 6 verse 4 says, "Each one should examine his own actions, and then he can take pride in himself alone, without comparing himself to someone else." This is liberating. You don't need to compete financially with anyone. You need to be faithful to your responsibilities, your resources, and your stage of life. The sixth silent choice is not having a clear purpose for your money. When you don't know why you're saving, it becomes very easy to spend. When you don't have a defined financial goal, anything seems like a good reason to use the money. But when you have a purpose, paying off debt, building an emergency fund, saving for your children's education, every financial decision becomes clearer. You ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my goal or further away from it? And that simple question changes everything. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Vision here means direction. It means knowing where you are going, and you need a clear vision for your finances, not obsessively, but intentionally. This kind of clarity about money transforms the way you think, decide, and act. It's not fleeting motivation, it's a solid foundation. Liking helps maintain this space where practical truths continue to be shared. Subscribing keeps you connected to content that follows this line of wisdom, faith, and financial responsibility. These are simple but significant steps. What I'm going to show you now is how to apply all of this in a practical way, and what to do when you realize you're stuck in several of these patterns at the same time. The seventh silent choice that drains money is not having limits on variable expenses. Variable expenses are those that change from month to month: food, transportation, entertainment, clothing. And if you don't consciously set limits for these categories, they will always consume more than they should. It's easy to justify. I need to eat. I need transportation. I deserve some leisure. And yes, all of that is true. But the question isn't whether you need or deserve it. The question is, how much? What is a healthy limit? How much can you spend in these areas without compromising your other financial responsibilities? When you don't set limits, variable expenses naturally expand. You'll always find a reason to spend a little more, and that little more accumulated over the year can represent thousands of dollars that could have been directed toward important goals. The eighth silent choice is not reviewing fixed expenses. You signed up for a cell phone plan 3 years ago, a streaming subscription 2 years ago, insurance 5 years ago, and since then, you've never stopped to assess whether these costs still make sense. If there are better options, if you really need all of this. Fixed expenses are dangerous precisely because they are automatic. They are debited from your account every month without you realizing it, and you may be paying for things you no longer use, or paying more than necessary for things you do use. A simple annual review of fixed expenses can save hundreds of dollars a year, but most people never do it because they're too busy living on autopilot. The ninth silent choice is spending with the expectation of earning more in the future. You think, next month I'll receive a bonus, or next year I'll get a promotion. So you spend today based on a future expectation. But the future is uncertain. The bonus may not come. The promotion may not happen. And when you spend based on expectations, you create real debt based on imaginary income. The Bible teaches us to live wisely in the present. James chapter 4, verses 13 and 14 says, "Now listen, you who say, 'Today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money.' Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow." This is not pessimism. It's realism. It's living with your feet on the ground. You need to make financial decisions based on what you have now, not on what you hope to have later. The 10th silent choice is not setting aside money before spending. Most people do the opposite. They spend first and try to save what's left over. But what's left over rarely stays. Something always comes up. There's always an emergency. There's always a justification. The biblical principle is to reverse this order. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 9 and 10 say, "Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine." First fruits means first. It means to set aside beforehand. When you receive your salary, the first thing you should do is set aside a portion to save. Not what's left over, but a specific amount set aside right at the beginning, even if it's small, even if it's just 5%. The important thing is to create the habit of paying yourself first. This completely changes how you handle money, because when you've already separated your savings, what's left is what you can spend, and you adjust to that. But when you don't separate, you'll always spend it all. The 11th silent choice is ignoring the true cost of credit. Credit cards, installment plans, financing. All these tools can be useful if used wisely, but they can also be traps if you don't understand the real cost. When you pay for a purchase in 12 installments, it seems cheaper, but you're paying interest. When you use your credit card limit, it seems like you have more money, but you're creating debt that you'll need to pay back later, with interest. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." Debt creates a relationship of servitude. You work to pay for the past, not to build the future. This doesn't mean you should never use credit, but it does mean you need to understand the cost. You need to know exactly how much you're paying in interest, and you need to have a clear plan to pay it back, not just hope that it will work out. The 12th silent choice is not teaching financial responsibility to your children. If you have children, you are shaping their financial mindset right now. They are watching how you handle money. They are learning from your example, not your words. If you spend impulsively, they'll learn that's how it's done. If you live in debt and anxious, they'll think that's normal. But if you demonstrate discipline, planning, and generosity, they'll take that into their own lives. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." This includes the financial path. Are you preparing the next generation to prosper or to repeat the same mistakes? If you recognize that you need to change some of these patterns, write in the comments, "I am committed to making wiser financial decisions." This is not an empty promise. It's a statement of intent. Go ahead and leave your comment now. What follows will show you how to break these patterns in a practical way, and what to do when you feel overwhelmed by it all at once. The 13th silent choice is living without a financial margin. Margin is the distance between what you earn and what you spend. When you live on the edge, spending everything you earn or even more, you have no margin. And without a margin, any unforeseen event becomes a crisis. The car breaks down. You need to go to the doctor. A family member needs help, and you have no way to deal with it without falling into despair, without taking on more debt, without further compromising your finances. Having a financial cushion isn't a luxury. It's wisdom. It's about intentionally living below your means, so you have room to breathe, so you have peace, so that unforeseen events are just that, unforeseen events, not catastrophes. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 20 says, "In the house of the wise there is rich food and oil, but a fool devours all he has." The wise person saves. The wise person has reserves. The fool consumes everything and nothing is left. Creating room for maneuver requires discipline. It requires saying no to some things now so you can say yes to important things later. But it's worth it. Because room for maneuver is freedom. The 14th silent choice is not adjusting your lifestyle when your income increases. You get a raise, a promotion, an unexpected bonus, and the first thing you do is increase your spending proportionally. You move to a bigger apartment. You buy a better car. You raise your standard of living. The problem with this is that you continue living on the edge, only at a higher level. You earn more, but you don't prosper anymore, because everything that comes in goes out. Biblical wisdom teaches that increased income is an opportunity to increase security, generosity, and investment, not consumption. When you earn more and maintain the same standard of living, you create a margin, you build reserves, you become more financially stable. The 15th silent choice is not seeking financial knowledge. Many people go through life without ever learning about personal finance. They don't know how interest works. They don't understand investments. They don't know the basic principles of budgeting. And then they make important financial decisions based on hunches, advice from acquaintances, and attractive advertisements. And they pay a high price for this lack of knowledge. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding." Seeking knowledge is not pride. It is responsibility. God gave you a mind to learn, and He expects you to use that mind to manage well what He has entrusted to you. You don't need to become an expert, but you need to understand the basics. You need to know how your money works. You need to make informed decisions, not blind decisions. The 16th silent choice is not being accountable. When you handle money alone, with no one to question you, to help you see the blind spots, it's easy to deceive yourself. It's easy to justify bad decisions. It's easy to continue with the same patterns. Being accountable can be a spouse, a trusted friend, a mentor, someone you respect who can ask you tough questions. Why did you spend that much? Was that expense in your budget? Does this bring you closer to your goals? Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." You need people around you who help you grow, and that includes the financial area. The 17th silent choice is not being generous. It may seem contradictory to talk about generosity when you are struggling financially, but the truth is that a lack of generosity creates a scarcity mindset that traps you even further. When you never give, when you never help anyone, when you live only to accumulate, you develop fear. Fear of losing, fear of not having enough. And this fear prevents you from making wise decisions. It prevents you from truly prospering. Luke chapter 6 verse 38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken, together and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." This is not a magic formula, but it is a spiritual principle. Generosity opens doors that greed closes. Even if you have little, you can give something. Even if your finances are tight, you can help someone. And when you do that, you break the scarcity mindset and open space for God to work in your life. The 18th silent choice is not celebrating small victories. You saved $50 this month. You paid off a small debt. You managed to stay within your budget for the first time in months. But instead of acknowledging the progress, you focus only on what's still missing. This is destructive, because financial change is a long process, and if you don't celebrate the small advances along the way, you lose motivation, you give up, you revert to old patterns. Celebrating doesn't mean spending money. It means acknowledging, thanking God, recording progress, reminding yourself that you're moving in the right direction, even if you haven't yet arrived where you want to be. Philippians chapter 1 verse 6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." God doesn't give up on you, and you shouldn't give up on yourself. Every step counts. The 19th silent choice is living based on appearances. You want people to think you're financially well off, so you maintain an external standard that doesn't match your internal reality. You spend to appear successful, even when you're in debt. This is unsustainable. Eventually, the truth comes out, and when it does, it's not just the financial situation that collapses, it's also credibility, peace, and integrity. Proverbs chapter 13 verse 7 says, "Some pretend to be rich, but have nothing. Others pretend to be poor, but possess great wealth." True prosperity is not in appearances. It is in reality. It is in having peace with God, with oneself, and with one's finances. The 20th silent choice is postponing difficult decisions. You know you need to cut an expense. You know you need to change a habit. You know you need to have a difficult conversation with your spouse about money, but you postpone it because it's uncomfortable, because it requires confrontation, because it's easier to continue as is. But postponing difficult decisions only makes the consequences worse. The debt grows, the anxiety increases, the problem deepens, and eventually, you are forced to deal with something much bigger than it would have been if you had acted sooner. Proverbs chapter 6 verses 10 and 11 say, "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man." Procrastination has real consequences. You need courage to do what is right, but that courage comes from God. And when you act, even when afraid, God sustains you. These truths about silent, financial choices weren't shared just for you to keep. There are other people stuck in the exact same struggles you just understood. Sharing this content could be the tool someone needs to start making a change. It's about responsibility, not impulse. Use the share button and send it to someone who needs this clarity. The 21st silent choice is not seeking God in your financial decisions. You pray about many things, about health, about relationships, about work. But when it comes to money, you act alone. You don't ask for wisdom. You don't seek guidance. You act as if your finances were a secular area, separate from your faith. But the Bible doesn't separate these areas. James chapter 1 verse 5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." This includes financial wisdom. When you seek God before making decisions about money, you gain access to wisdom that surpasses your own. You avoid mistakes. You see opportunities. You act with peace. The 22nd silent choice is not having a plan for unforeseen events. You know that unforeseen events will happen. They always do, but you don't prepare for them. And when they arrive, and they always do, you panic. The solution is simple, but it requires discipline. Create an emergency fund, a separate fund specifically to deal with the unexpected. Not to spend on wants, not to use on opportunities, but exclusively for real emergencies. Start small, even if it's just $20 a month. The important thing is to start. Over time, it grows, and when an emergency hits, you'll know how to handle it without panicking. Proverbs chapter 30 verse 25 says, "The ants, creatures without strength, yet in summer they prepare their food. Ants are not stronger than other creatures, but they are wise. They prepare themselves, and this preparation is what sustains them." The 23rd silent choice is not having clarity about priorities. When everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. You want to save money. You want to pay off debts. You want to invest. You want to be generous. You want to live better. And you try to do everything at the same time, without order, without focus. The result is frustration. Because you don't make progress in any area, you become scattered. And being scattered doesn't generate results. Biblical wisdom teaches us to have order. First, the fundamental things, then the important things, then the desirable things. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33 says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." That is prioritization. Define what's most important right now, and focus your energy on that. When you achieve that, move on to the next thing. But don't try to do everything at once. The 24th silent choice is not learning from your own mistakes. You made a financial mistake. You overspent. You took on unnecessary debt. You made an impulsive decision. And when you realize it, you feel guilty. But instead of learning from it, you simply move on and repeat the same mistake later. Learning requires reflection. It requires stopping and asking, what led me to do this? What thought pattern was operating? How can I avoid this in the future? Without this reflection, you are doomed to repeat the same mistakes indefinitely. Proverbs chapter 26 verse 11 says, "Like a dog that returns to its vomit, so is a fool who repeats his folly." This is harsh but true. Repeating mistakes without learning is foolishness. God allows you to make mistakes, but He expects you to learn, to grow, to mature. And when you do that, mistakes become lessons, not just failures. The 25th and final silent choice is to have no hope. You look at your financial situation and only see problems, debt, stagnation, pressure, and then you give up. You stop trying. You accept that things are this way and always will be. But that's not true. Your situation can change, not overnight, not by an instant miracle, but through conscious decisions, repeated over time, sustained by God's grace. Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." God has plans for you, plans of prosperity, not of misery. You need to believe this and act accordingly, one step at a time, one choice at a time, trusting that God is with you in this process. So to recap everything we've discussed today, stop calling what are actually silent, repeated choices over time bad luck. Buying convenience without considering the cost, spending to alleviate emotions, not planning small expenses, disregarding small amounts, comparing yourself financially to others, not having a clear purpose, not setting limits, not reviewing fixed expenses, spending with future expectations, not setting aside money first, ignoring the cost of credit, not teaching your children, living without a safety net, increasing consumption when income increases, not seeking knowledge, not being accountable, not being generous, not celebrating victories, living for appearances, postponing difficult decisions, not seeking God, not planning for unforeseen events, not having clear priorities, not learning from mistakes, and not having hope. There are 25 choices, and each one individually seems small, but added together they create a pattern that silently drains your money. The good news is that now you are aware, and with awareness comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes change. You don't need to change everything at once. Choose 2 or 3 of these areas and start there. Apply, adjust, learn, and over time you'll see the difference. Biblical prosperity is not an instant miracle. It is wisdom applied consistently. It is God teaching you. It is you obeying. It is character being formed. It is stewardship being exercised. And in the end, it is peace, stability, dignity, freedom. This kind of clarity about finances makes a real difference. Liking this video strengthens this channel where practical principles continue to be shared. Subscribing keeps you connected to content that follows this line of biblical wisdom applied to life. And activating the notification bell ensures you receive notifications whenever a new video is published. These are simple actions, but they show a commitment to your own growth. What you've begun to understand here about financial choices deepens as you continue learning. The next piece of content maintains this same practical approach and helps organize everything even more clearly. Click on the video that's currently appearing on your screen and continue this process of financial and spiritual transformation.